those of you who got an invite, welcome to Nerd Prom.
No matter where in the world you are, we're all Nerds International. With the hyphen.
Alright, YouTube, it's Mr.Mean coming at you from very swampy Beaumont, Texas. It's Wednesday. I'm recording this, but I'm going to post it Thursday because I already posted a video today on Starfinder, so go check that out. As always, hit that like and subscribe. Hit the little bell to bing my bell, and you'll be notified when I upload a new video. Today's video du jour is one that I really, really like, and I am so glad that it got a second edition, and that is Weird Games Through the Breach. I hinted at this in my Starfinder video that I was going to do a review of it, so here you go. This was published just recently. It's $60 US. I had some credit on Miniature Market, and so I was able to pick it up for free. I had ordered enough stuff that I was able to turn in my points. When you shop on Miniature Market, you get points, and then those points can be turned in for a product. And so that's what I did. So it was actually, I think it did cost me a couple bucks, but it wasn't much. So for those of you that are not familiar with Through the Breach, this is the role-playing game set in the world of Malifaux. Malifaux is Weird's miniature game. It's a small-scale skirmish miniature game. Probably one of the best miniature makers in the business. They're up there with Infinity, as far as I'm concerned. I think their miniatures are great. They're plastic and they go together relatively easy, but they do have some small fiddly parts. Not for everybody, but if you like good quality miniatures and you like a good solid miniature skirmish type game, check out Malifaux. It's a great game. But Through the Breach is their role playing game, and this is set in the they give you a time frame, and I apologize, I don't exactly know when that time frame is. Yeah, let's see here. Let's go to page 7 and look at the history of Malifaux. It doesn't give you. It's like Victorian England, that area. There's with more of a steampunk and of course magic, and it's a really cool concept on a game. The first and foremost is you don't use dice. This game uses a deck of playing cards, and it's the same cards that you would use in Malifaux, the miniature game. And so one of the easiest ways to get into this is you can pick up a deck for $7 or $8, I think, online, maybe $10, but they make a introductory box game for Malifaux. It comes with 8 miniatures. They're generic. They're all henchmen, or they're I can't think. Whenever I go to do these reviews, I always have a brain fart of some kind. There's one henchman, one for each side, and then they're all generic. I forgot the term. I can't think of it. Mercenaries. There we go. They're mercenaries. And it comes with 2 factions. It comes with 2 tape measures. Comes with a miniatures, a rule book, a small pamphlet. Basically, it teaches you through gameplay how to actually play the game. So scenario 1 uses 1 miniature, and it goes on. But again, this is not a review for Malifaux, the miniatures game. Go play it. It's really good. In fact, if you're in the Beaumont area or Texas area and you want to play, let me know. I've got plenty of stuff, and I know how to play, and I'd be more than happy to show you. It's a super fun game. But anyway, it uses a standard 52 deck of cards with the jokers left in. The red joker is awesome. The black joker is bad. And then they have their own suits. So they have Mask, Crows, a Book, and Ram that take the place of your hearts, diamonds, clubs, and spades. So again, pick up the starter box. I think it's $40. It's a great bang for the value. In fact, you could probably even find it cheaper on Amazon or wherever you buy your game and hobby stuff from. But it comes with 2 of these decks. You get 2 decks. And that's what this deck is. It's out of there. out of there. So you got this deck and you got this deck. So very awesome. Every player will need a deck. You can use a standard poker card, regular bicycle playing cards, but these are themed for Malifaux, so they work great. Each player will make a hand of cards, and then that's their fated deck, because the reason you're called fated is because you get to cheat fate. And this revises, this is the second edition, so this replaces the Fated Almanac, the Fate Master's Almanac, into the Steam, Under Quarantine, and Into the Bayou, which those are the current books that are out for first edition Through the Breach for Malifaux. Through the Breach adventures are In Defense of Innocence, Northern Aggression, A Night in Rottenburg, Nithira, The Bayou Games, and A Fire in the Sky. So what's nice is all those first edition books are compatible with this. I was not a fan of first edition on how they did it. They did the Fated Almanac, which was basically the player's guide, told you how to make a character. That's all it did, which is cool because if you're a player, that's the only book you need to buy. But then the Fate Master's Almanac was a separate book, and it had all of how to run the game, how to do the mechanics, how to GM, and then there was a GM screen as well that you had to buy, and it was a pretty good value, actually. I think it was like 20, 25 bucks, and it came with a pad of character sheets, which the character sheets actually folded out. It was like a book, so it was very cool. A little bit on the pricey side, but still very nice. And I bought everything back when it came out, when I was still working out at Citgo, and I don't regret it. But reading it and flipping between the two books was kind of annoying. And then in the player's book, you had to refer to stuff that was in the GM's book, and it wasn't too bad, but it was annoying. And reading the character creation rules were painful. I'm sorry. It's a great game. I love the mechanics. I love the world. I love the setting. You get that cowboy, steampunk, black magic, goblins, bayou goblins on top of that. And I live in the South, so you know how fantastic that is. But it left something to be desired. And the books were soft back, and they were. It was not a good format for them, I felt. Or I should say it wasn't a good format for me. So they came out with 2.0 of the core rules. And I like on here because nowhere does it say 2.0. It just says Through the Breach. So what's kind of nice is for those game stores that might still have it, they can put this on their shelf next to the 1.0 version, and they can sell both because either one still works. Some people might like that cheaper cost of getting it. The rules are really the same. Now, that being said, they did clean up a lot of stuff. I read through character creation on here, and it's a lot smoother and worded better than it was in the 1.0 books. I just don't know. It had a very successful Kickstarter. Everybody who got their books loved it. It's just me. I bought it off the shelf. I didn't even know they were having a Kickstarter for it, or I would have dived right into it. So it's just one of those things that it fell through the cracks for me. But this is just a better format. It even includes the ribbons down here. You get 3 ribbons. So production quality is real good. Of course, as with all of Weird's books, it's written very well. I haven't found too many typos or anything so far. I haven't read through the whole book, but it's phenomenal so far in its presentation. My big pet peeve is art. I like a consistent theme of art throughout the book. Weird never fails to deliver in that aspect. The quality of the binding and the stitching is top notch. It's a solid book. It's hardback. It's very nice. The art, like I said, is fantastic. You make a character by basically doing a tarot reading, and then each card that you play in this cross, you do a cross and you read it from center and then top, left, right, and bottom, I believe, or some function thereof. And each one of those cards has a meaning, and then you go to that appropriate section, and so like you play a 9 of crows, then you go to the 9 of crows and you read what it says, and it gives you some stats and it gives you some flavor text. And what you're supposed to do is you fill in everything as you go through character creation, and each card is basically a sentence. And what will happen is, I think you play 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 cards. And what happens is those 5 sentences will make a paragraph about the fate of your character. from beginning to end. And so it's kind of neat. So, and then what you do is you give that to the GM, and he can work that into his or her game. I think that's very neat because it just gives you ways to tie the characters in. Skills are basically done by flips. The GM doesn't really have to flip any cards. He sets basically a number, and then you either try to attack and or defend whatever is going on, or a skill check the GM will call for a difficulty, and you'll make a flip. If it's opposed, you'll have the number, and that's what you flip against. And there's a couple situations where the GM can get an up flip or a negative flip, or force the player to have an up flip or a negative flip, and the player will have talents and things that will give them the same effect. So very cool in its mechanic. The players have a fated hand, which I believe is 13 cards, and you get to build it with. This is nice. So there's no random dice rolls. It's all cards that you put in your deck, which are based off of character creation. And you get, I think it's 13 cards if I remember correctly. And based on what your cards were when you drew your fate, they dictate what suits, and you. The numbers are hard coded. So you're going to get a 13, you're going to get a 12, you're going to get a 13 all the way down to an ace, which is the lowest card in the game. 13 is the highest. But the suits are all, you get to determine the suits. So whatever your strongest suit is, you can get the 13, yada yada, and then it breaks down from there. And the numbers jumble. They're not consecutive. So like say your first pick a card, your first 4 cards will be 13, 7, 10, and 1. And then your second set would be 12, 9, 5, and 2, and so on and so forth. But you get to dictate the suits, which is kind of cool. And then I think if I remember correctly, one card is a random card that you get to choose, a random suit, and whatever number it is. I don't remember. Don't quote me. Buy the book and read it. But the point is, this is definitely a buy in Mr. Mean's category. If you like spaghetti westerns with magic, if you're a fan of Deadlands, you're probably going to like this. It's steampunk. There is magic. There's soul stones, which is let me get into this. It's turn of the century. I think the Civil War is in. It's like 1789. I don't remember the exact time frame, but it's still in the cowboy days, 16 something. But it's more Victorian England. The U.S. exists and everything like that. But what's happened is this breach has opened up, a metaphysical breach, and people have gone over to the other side. And they've gone into this world called Malifaux. And in this world, things don't work like they do here. And so we find a way to keep that breach open. And then they build a train. And then there's this organization called the Guild, which is one of the factions in here. And they basically control the breach. And they want soul stones because everything on the Earth side run off of soul stones. And it has increased economy. It has brought about magical effects and weird science and steampunk science and everything. And so they want a constant influx of soul stones. On Malifaux, they have goblins as their indigenous race and a couple other critters. And they don't want the rift open. They don't want the breach open. So they're actively working to either close it or disrupt it or just come over to our side. Goblins want to come over here and wreak havoc as they do, and they're Cajun goblins, they're Bayou goblins. So make of that what you will, but a lot of their sentences start off with "hold my beer." Makes it kind of fun, puts a nice redneck comical spin on it, and it gives you an easy bad guy to poke a stick at. The game is written very well. It's not hard to understand. It parallels human history for the most part, but it does deviate because of the breach. And they give you plenty of factions, plenty of bad guys. Everything you need is in this book. The only thing it doesn't give you is a deck of cards, which, like I said, go out and buy the starter set for Malifaux, and you've got a deck. You've got 2 decks of cards, which is all you need. But each player is going to need a deck of cards because they have to make their deck. And then they shuffle those, and they have certain instances where they can draw cards and they can reshuffle and stuff like that. And the book describes all of that. So it's pretty fantastic. It's a very easy game to pick up. I don't feel that it's very complicated. I do like the new layout of the character creation. I think they've done an excellent job in simplifying it. It doesn't look like it's really changed. I haven't broken out my first edition books to read up on it and see how much it's changed. I probably need to do that, but I'm looking forward to running a session of this for my group because I think they will enjoy it. You can even play a goblin if you want to, I believe. I believe they have rules in here to play a goblin, or they give you the basics for what you need in order to make it a viable character if you're on the Malifaux side. So, I mean, I can't say enough good stuff. This is a buy in Mr.Mean's book. I think it's a great game. It lends itself really well to campaign play, I feel, because you choose a career, and then every game session, or every so many game sessions, you're allowed to change your career. You want to be a magic user? Okay, you're a magic user. You want to be a gunslinger? Okay, next session you're a gunslinger. Now, that being said, you're not going to be a great magic user or a gunslinger unless you spend a couple of sessions in that career, because each time you go in, you get to, because you're fated characters, you get to manipulate your fate, and that's how you can get new skills. It's kind of cool. So when you choose that career, you get the basic skills and whatever the basic talent is for that career, and then you get to go from there. So the longer you stay in that career, the more benefits you get of being in that career, and more abilities and cool ways to use your cards. So there's something to be said for sticking with a career, but there's also a lot of flexibility. I'm one of those players. I get bored real easy. I like change. I like things to keep evolving, to keep changing. And so this game, as a player, that's fantastic, because each game session I can jump into another career and do something completely different from what I did last session. And I think that's really cool, and I think that appeals to a lot of people. Even if it's only for 2 or 3 sessions, then you swap into another career and you play that. So it's very cool. So anyway, just wanted to do another video. I'll post this one. You guys will be able to see it tomorrow, which will be Thursday. I'm recording it Wednesday night. So it's by Weird Games. Weirdgames.com. Weird-games.com, I believe it is. It might even be weird.com. It's been so long since I've been to their website. Weird-games.net. Weird-games.net. I'll put a link in the show notes. Anyway, Through the Breach, set in the world of Malifaux. Fantastic miniatures, very reasonably priced as well. So if you like using miniatures in your RPG game, this one wholeheartedly embraces that. And you can definitely get you can get a quick stash of miniatures real quick. I can tell you that they paint up very nice. They go together very well for the I haven't had any problems, and I've got quite a few miniatures. So anyway, Mr. Mean signing off. Peace and hair grease. And as always, remember, be nice.